Hello, viewers, and welcome to another exciting edition of your program, Corruption Must Go. I am your host, Hawasani Garba. Corruption and its consequences have greatly affected Nigeria. The issues of corruption have continually hindered Nigeria from achieving holistic and sustainable development. It is unfortunate that Nigeria, a nation richly blessed with human and material resources, is grappling with the effects of corruption and obvious lack of moral values amongst her citizenry, even though most of its citizens are either Christians or Muslims. Religious institutions dot the landscape of the country, but is their presence able to bring about behavioral change in the fight against corruption? Today on the program, we shall be looking at the role religious leaders should play in reducing corruption. But first, let us join Joy Aja as she brings us up to date on happenings around the Commission.
Hello viewers, thank you for staying with us. I am Joy Aja with Anti-Corruption Stories. ICPC has arraigned in court a civil servant with the Border Communities Development Agency, Mr. Suleiman Austin Adavize, for allegedly signing off a contract that was not completed. Mr. Adavize was arraigned recently before Honorable Justice Peter Kekemenke of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory on 3-count charge bordering on false statements. Adavize pleaded not guilty when the charges were read to him, and his counsel, A.G. Osanyonde, applied that the defendant be granted bail subject to the overriding convenience of the court. The counsel to the ICPC, Eno Igodaro Yahaya, did not object to the bail application for the defendant. In his ruling, Justice Kekemenke stated that since there was no objection to the bail application by the prosecutor, there was no reason to deny the defendant his freedom. He was therefore granted bail in the sum of 2 million naira and one surety in like sum. The surety must be a pastor in the church where the defendant worships, or the chairman of the estate where he lives, or a senior officer in the defendant's place of work, the judge ruled. Justice Kekemenke thereafter adjourned the case to February 22, 2024 for hearing. In a bid to reposition the minds of students and enable them to imbibe the virtues of hard work ethics, good citizenship, honesty, and integrity, the Kaduna State Office of the ICPC has inaugurated 30 anti-corruption clubs in selected secondary schools within Kaduna Metropolis. In his welcome address, the resident anti-corruption commissioner, Prince Hassan Mohammed, lauded the courage and great enthusiasm of the schools to join the fight against corruption in Nigeria. The commissioner went further to charge the students to be role models in their schools and lead by example as ambassadors for anti-corruption. That will be all on this segment. Corruption Must Go continues with Hawa. Please stay with us.
Welcome back. Looking at the high religiosity of both leaders and citizens of Nigeria and the high level of corruption, one can only but wonder at the irony of the situation. Nigeria is greatly blessed and highly religious and yet poor and highly corrupt. All religions condemn corruption and emphasizes fairness and uprightness as some of the tenets of its doctrine. Can we then say that Nigerians, though religious, are not influenced by the changing power of their religions? How can religious leaders ensure that corruption is reduced? And can they defame the corrupt in their midst? We spoke to some religious leaders who shared their thoughts with us on the issue.
One of the founding fathers of sociology. He's a co-founder of sociology with Auguste Comte and Karl Marx is his name. He has defined religion as the opium of the masses. And opium is something that is addictive, that is intoxicating. And that the more you get closer, the more you want to, get into it. That's what religion is all about. You cannot detach humans from religion because it has to do with their fundamental beliefs in the natural and in the supernatural. And when you get it from that point, the political class, the sociological setting of any given society can make use of religion in trying to quell the symptoms and the factors that propels corruption. And so there is no society that wants to thrive in a very good, serene environment without corruption that can negate the power of religion. So religion plays a lot of role, very important one for that matter. And when you have people who are corrupt in your congregation, your work is not to call them before the congregation and disgrace them. And so when you do that, you're going to have lots of negative backlashes. And you are going to be doing more harm than good. And so what you do is to up your game and to make sure that from the pulpit you preach the right sermon. You preach the right sermon. You must preach truth. You must preach what we call the credos of Christian theology. And that has to do with the do's and the don'ts of what you must not do, what you must do. You don't take anything that doesn't belong to you. You don't loot the government treasury. You don't kill in order to get to power. You don't manipulate. You don't forge certificates. Some of those, credos, some of those fundamental facts of Christianity and good morality. Once you dish it out from the altar, of course they are changing. It is not for you to just bully them or call them from the congregation, stand them and say, you are corrupt, walk out from my church. There is no sense in doing that. When you do that, as I've said in the other statement, you have caused more harm than good. Again, I go back to what I said. You just teach the truth and be very blunt about it, but in a very civilized manner. There's a way you tell somebody, shut up, the person will be rejoicing. But there is a way you tell somebody, shut up, the person will see it as an insult, depending on how you put it out there. And so what we are saying, every religious leader must, and I repeat, must influence the people with sound teaching. That's number one. Two, you must be seen to be doing what you're teaching. There are so many people who may say sound teaching, but there are, in mass communication, there are two ways of communication. Okay, we have sign communications, we have oral communications. And so sign communication is all about what you do and the people see you do. And oral communication is what you dish out from your mouth. So these two must go in pair. The religious leaders must imbibe this, use it on your congregants, not only on your congregants, use it in other places, wherever you go all over the world.
Yeah, that's why I'm a preacher, because I believe that religion is meant for social positive change. It's a way of reforming the society. It is all about social cohesion. all about personal esteem and social awareness. Therefore, if religion reform a society, it has met its essence. But if religion failed to reform any society, that means that society has not understood what religion is or what religion should be. Therefore, I strongly believe that religion plays a vital role in shaping and reforming societies. The responsibility of the leader is to imitate the early prophets of God, early messengers sent by the Almighty. I want to believe that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam dealt with corrupt leaders, and he tackled them in different kind of ways. Therefore, we must be flexible in the way we tackle or attack corruption from the leaders that are corrupt. We tend to look at, or we're supposed to look at what the laws, the laws of the land are saying about corruption. Use them and attach to them the biblical or Quranic verses that are supporting that laws, and remind them, caution them that look, corruption is not a sin against the land. It's not a sin against the state only, but a sin against man and God. So if it is so, you don't have a place in the church to play, or in the mosque to play big manism after looting the wealth of the land. This is the role we're supposed to be playing. When religious leaders sacrifice that idea of materialism, if we can move away from materialistic way of living, flamboyant way of life, and try to consider more those members of the congregation that cannot afford to have 3 square meals on their table, those that cannot afford to even change clothes annually, those members that can hardly pay the school fees of their children, those members that are looking for job, but they are qualified, but they cannot secure a job, those members that are undergraduates but always on strike, the school is on strike, they don't have qualitative education, those sick people that cannot afford medical care. If we can consider those and sacrifice for them, if we can sacrifice for them and say, we don't want your money, we don't want that corrupt money, don't give us, but do the right thing to rescue the life of these people, I think we are going to change the society. If we fail to, if we celebrate them, if we want to share with them that corrupt wealth, then we cannot do anything. My name is Muhammad Nur Khalid, the Digital Imam. Keep on watching Corruption Must Go.
You are still watching Corruption Must Go. ICPC works with different stakeholders to drive the anti-corruption message, and one of such are religious leaders. Our crew spoke with Mr. John Ode, the Deputy Director of Public Enlightenment and Education Department of ICPC. He tells us why and how this is done. We shall also be bringing you the views of some Nigerians. Stay with us.
The ICPC engages with practically every sector of the Nigerian society. Religious leaders are not excluded. The Nigerian society, like many other societies, is a multi-sectoral society. And religion is a very cardinal issue in Nigeria. Cardinal in the sense that Nigerians are very religious people, very prayerful people. In fact, all the religions are represented in Nigeria, if I may say so, including those that are alien to us, ordinarily alien to our community. But for the ones that are considered major, Christianity, Islam, Godianism, which is a traditional religion, the ICPC engages with all of them. Leaders from these different religious groupings, we engage with them because the people, the Nigerian person, the Nigerian people respect religious leaders. They revere religious leaders. They take them seriously. An average Nigerian is very prayerful and takes what his religious leader says to him very seriously. How do we use them? How do we engage with religious leaders? We engage with them through conferences. We engage with them through town hall meetings. We engage with them through seminars. We actually go to them, and sometimes we make them come to us here in the ICPC for seminars. And then we have faith-based organizations who are members of our National Anti-Corruption Coalition. In the National Anti-Corruption Coalition, we deal with segments of the society. For the faith-based organizations, be it the Interreligious Council of Nigeria, or dealing with Christians and Muslims separately or collectively, we engage them through seminars, through explaining to them the strategies and initiatives of the ICPC to reach the people. We share information, education and communication materials with them. We listen to their views on how to move the fight against corruption further. We also deal with their umbrella bodies and some NGOs run by faith-based organizations. So that is how we engage them, and it has been a robust, mutually beneficial relationship thus far.
For faith-based organizations, it will be to train religious leaders whom we all know have influence on their congregation. If you're able to train them, as part of what we are doing, we work with the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, so we get the top Christian leaders, bring them into a meeting, do a workshop on Christianity and corruption, share with them the social teachings of the church, accountability issues and all of that. Once we get them trained, we know they have influence on their congregation, so that way it will trickle down.
Our religious mandate is to actually promote what the NEIP, the policy of the NEIP, because it resonates well with our faith teachings. When you're talking about professionalism, you're talking about courage, you're talking about transparency, talking about accountability, which is very, very much, and that is one of the core values of all the religions. Religions may differ in terms of faith, belief, and so on, but where we come together is this area of, and so we can see the NIP policy as a common book, a common scripture for the whole religion across the world.
First of all, you have to know that faith-based organizations have been preaching those messages you are now calling NAIP. We've been preaching them on our mosque and churches, and so it behoves now for us to collaborate with necessary agencies like yours to internalize them and assimilate them by stepping down what we have received in this training into the whims and fabrics of ministry, so that we can continue to emphasize them as core values of our messages.
For me, it's ignorance. Some of them are not even aware of those things that constitute corruption. For example, I always like to give this example because a Christian leader came to church to give a testimony of how someone went to write exam for his son, came back successfully. So how clueless can he be? So he doesn't even understand. He's so ignorant of the fact that this is corruption. Maybe they only look at corruption as stealing government. They restrict it. They are grand corruption, they are retail. In fact, failing to do what is right. Like in part of the research that we did, we were able to extrapolate about 115 scriptures that speaks to corruption. The Bible speaking in the book of James chapter 4 verse 17 says, to him that know how to do good and doeth it not, to him is a sin. So ignorance, first of all, bring it to their consciousness. Let them even understand what constitutes corruption.
Some of the challenges is that as you are preaching these values and virtues, which should be part of our system, you watch on TV and newspaper, the electronic and print papers and government giving awards to recalcitrant members of society without due consideration of religious leaders, for example, without asking us for nominations.
Religious bigotry should be jettisoned. And why did I say this? Is that, you see, there are a lot of common grounds that we have. The only thing that differentiates very time, which is our belief. We don't have issue with that. What about the millions of things that have brought us together? Let us form a common human fraternity. Once that is done, then our problem will be solved.
My advice to religious leader is to first of all be truthful to themselves. If you look at all those core values that are within this policy, they are not outside the Word of God. For example, so what is needed is for them to take ownership, first of all, lead by example, and advocate to the congregation that, hey, this is a very important thing that also, though it wasn't extrapolated from the Bible directly, because you have it that it was extrapolated from the NOA, from the ICPC Act, and from the 1999 Constitution. But if you study the Word of God, whether the Quran or the Bible, integrity is something that the Bible encourages you to uphold.
I would suggest one of the ways would be constant interfacing, because ignorance is a disease. The Bible says for lack of knowledge the people perish. So interfacing for proper education and orientation of our congregation, and possibly the major players both in private and public sector should constantly meet to compare notes, as we are doing here in Abuja, and that will help to upgrade our knowledge, by which we will transmit to our millions of followers.
I am a Nigerian, a highly cultured race. My culture abhors corruption, and with my integrity, a new Nigeria is possible. I say no to corruption today to build a future for my children. Join me and imbibe the culture of integrity to build a Nigeria of our dreams.
Religion can provide solutions to the problem of corruption by redirecting the minds of followers towards understanding that power is from God and everyone will give accounts of their stewardship. Also, corrupt people should not be celebrated for their bogus donations to religious bodies, but politely turned down and, if possible, reported. Remember that one person can make a difference in the fight against corruption. That is our package for today. You can send in your messages, complaints, and suggestions via our email info@icpc.gov.ng or through our smart number 0800 call ICPC. You can still watch all editions of this program on our YouTube channel, ICPC Nigeria. Thank you for watching and see you again this time next week. I am Hawasani Garba, saying bye for now.